Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Sunday, July 20th, 2025, in the Space and Time Continuum. And again, a lot going on this week. It feels like just one thing going on, just the Epstein files, right? But there's talk about what's a distraction and what's being distracted from. At this point, kind of like I've been saying now, the distractions are as bad as what is being distracted from. So it's just completely out of control for the Trump administration. Really, that's what's happening. And I'm finding some patterns emerging that I want to point out to you and see what you think. And but there are a couple of, interesting shifts going on in media again. You've heard me talk about the Midas Touch Network. Ben Meiselas has been really picking up his reports. He's the main guy on Midas Touch Network. Of course, he would be the first one to give credit to other people around him doing research and all kinds of things. But he has been doing in-depth reporting. He's got a really interesting angle about what's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell, however you say it. I hear some people say Ghislaine. I don't know. Anyway, but he also did some reporting. He did one report on Melania Trump and one report on Ivana Trump, Donald Trump's first wife that he got hooked up with in Russia and then divorced, and then she died by falling down the stairs in 2022, 3 days before her non-disclosure agreement was supposed to expire. So Ben is hitting it pretty hard, and he is going there. Yes, he is going there. You know, and again, he's doing the same thing I'm doing. It seems like suddenly he's saying, I don't know, it seems funny to me. How do you feel? That's what he's saying now to his audience. And I'm sure it's because he listens and watches me, right, all the time. So he's catching a lot of, no, he has no idea I exist. But it's just, things are getting interesting in a weird way. Now, last week you heard me, I maybe sounded even a little giddy because the fever broke, is how I will put it. The fever broke on his supporters no longer supporting him. And what broke the fever was the Epstein files, of all things. Donald Trump has no idea what people think because he has no soul, right? So when I ask you, how do you feel about that? How did you feel on election night? Did you think Donald Trump was going to be able to win that election? You know, he can't do that. You know how you feel about it. I know how I feel about it. He has no idea because he has no feelings about anything. So he's just completely surprised that this particular thing is something he can't make go away in the same way he made everything else go away. And that's why I'm loving how Ben Meiselas is doing these reviews. For instance, we forget that Melania Trump in 2016, during the first election period, took down a website of hers because she was caught lying about the fact that she had graduated from a college in design and architecture. Our daughter's going to school for architecture, and it's really difficult. And then she got, so if you remember, that was taken down because she lied about graduating from college. And then she also lied about working as a model. She was here illegally. All of that stuff, it went away. He even played a clip that I immediately remembered once he played it, but it has just gone off into the ether. It's a clip of Donald Trump during the election in 2016, and he's saying something like, "And now they're saying that my wife is here illegally." She's so thorough with her records, and I think in about 2 weeks we're going to do a press conference with her and I. 2 weeks. He was saying it back then. Of course, that press conference never happened. Also, if you remember, she absolutely did word for word Michelle Obama's speech at the convention in 2016. Remember that? Anyway, I don't want to talk about them too long, but all of these things are causing us to go backward in time. Washington Post just came out with a story that a lot of other people have been talking about for about a week and a half over this Epstein thing, and it's because it goes back now to the Russia thing, which Trump tried to use as a distraction from the Epstein thing. He tried to talk about having another investigation on Jim Comey and the former head of the CIA. Jim Comey is the former head of the FBI, and how they conducted the investigation into whether or not Russia interfered in the 2016 election. And now people are remembering, Marco Rubio was the chairman of the committee that had a big, long hearing and investigation on this, and Marco Rubio and his committee determined, yes, Russia was trying to get Trump to win. And now that story is resurfacing. So now we're remembering all these crimes, all these horrible... Now, that one doesn't even really implicate Donald Trump, except for that Donald Trump couldn't even win the popular vote with Russia's help. And he barely won, so he's really... Most people think he was an illegitimate president back then. And now we're talking about that again. And whose fault is it? It's Donald Trump's fault. Talking about this guilt that we have in this country. It's like you've probably seen or heard this Jumbotron story at a Coldplay concert. First of all, I'm like, Coldplay is still touring? Anyway, some CEO that everyone except me, I feel like, knows who it is there with one of his employees, a subordinate, and they're holding each other in their arms. You know, I don't know. Whatever. Everybody's got their own thing. I remember I'm really into the band The Fix. My wife Heidi's not so much into the band, but this other woman that we know is, and me and this other woman went to see The Fix. Of course, Heidi knew about it. If a Jumbotron picked us up, I wouldn't care. But these people felt so guilty that they covered their faces and ducked out of the shot. That's what got him noticed. You've heard me talk about in Native American animal cards, and the rabbit could be in the middle of a field in tall grass, and the rabbit sees on the perimeter where it's sort of like a big circle of forest with an open area the rabbit is in. The rabbit sees that there's a hawk up in the trees. The hawk is looking down at the grass, trying to find something like a rabbit to, go and pick it up and eat it. The rabbit is sitting still, and the hawk cannot see the rabbit, but the rabbit gets so panicked that it decides to run for the forest. That's what makes the hawk see the rabbit. And, of course, then the hawk goes down and the rabbit loses. That's what those people did on the Jumbotron. If you would have just sort of like taken your arms away from being around her, it would have probably not made any stories, But no, you duck, you show so much guilt in your reaction. Donald Trump suing the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch is the same type of thing. Everybody's talking about the Wall Street Journal story much more because of Trump's reaction. Trump trying to make it go away. By doing what he's doing, he's basically being the rabbit trying to make it to the forest. That story could have went away, except for that it will probably continue. Ben Meiselas points out, I think very astutely, what happened in the Wall Street Journal story, if you don't know, it's a leather-bound booklet of birthday messages to Jeffrey Epstein that Ghislaine Maxwell, is how I'm going to pronounce her name, put together back in 2003, I think. And in it is this, I saw it today. I actually saw the one that Donald Trump made, and it is, first of all, it would be something that maybe me and my buddies would have done like when we were in 6th grade, not 10th grade. Would have thought it was wrong by the time we got to 10th grade. We maybe would have done this in 6th grade, and half of me and my buddies would have been against it. I don't know if I would have, which side I would have been on. But so first of all, it looks like something a 6th grade boy would do. He drew a doodle of a woman's body, of course, with the breasts with little dots on them, you know what I mean? And then he signed his name, and you know what his signature looks like because he holds it up whenever he signs these bills. He signed it right where the pubic hair of the woman would be. So that's as far as I'm going to go in describing it. Even though I had heard that description, when I saw it, I was still like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's just so lewd and disgusting. And the reason we might have done it in 6th grade is because we had just barely learned about a girl or a woman's body and maybe found, in my case, my uncle's Playboy magazine that he was living with us, and it was under his mattress of his bed. There's a really funny story about how that was discovered, about having to do with my other 2 brothers having a fight and one of them trying to fold the other one into the folding bed that my uncle slept in, trying to fold my brother in it, slipped off, his hands slipped off the frame of the bed and just folded the mattress. And of course, then when the mattress folded, he was looking down at a Playboy magazine. Anyway, wow, I can't believe I just told that story. And I hope my brothers don't, well, I don't know. I think they think it's a funny story. But what were we talking about? Donald Trump writing this thing, and of course he says something about enigmas never get older, and have another day of successful secrets or something, and you know what they're talking about. And it's just disgusting. And of course, Trump and his son try and say, I never doodle, I don't draw. There's a whole bunch of drawings. He loves to doodle. He even sold a lot of them, supposedly for charity, back 20 years ago when he was on TV and all this stuff. Well, how do you think the Wall Street Journal got that? By the way, the Wall Street Journal, not the Washington Post, not the New York Times. Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal. And Trump tried to warn him and say, this is fake. You better not write about it. And Rupert Murdoch was like, oh, no, it's not fake, mate. Fucking going to write about it, of course. I don't think I'm doing the correct accent. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, they went ahead and published it. Trump got really mad. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is the one who made that book. It's likely in her possession or somebody in her family's possession. She likely has instructions because she knows where all the bodies are buried. She likely has instructions to family members and or friends saying, if this happens, release this. If this happens, release this. If this happens, release all of it, but put it out maybe once a week or so. And this is the first one. That makes a lot of sense to me. So we're going to see what's coming. I think it's going to... more and more stories are coming out, even from the victims. Some of them are being replayed from victims that have come out in the past. And they're horrible, lewd, gross, disgusting stories about Donald Trump. They're getting worse and worse. This is not going anywhere, and he's losing more and more of the maggots. This story, like I said, broke the fever. Once you break your fever, you're able to do more things. You're able to get out of bed and function. Well, a lot of these maggots are waking up, and they are now asking the question, so if he lied about this so much and he's covering it up, what about all these other things? What else has he lied to us about? What else is he trying to cover up? They're ready to hear some stories. They're ready to review some things. Let's take a short break and come back and talk about some of those things. And I do want to touch on a couple news items that you likely did not hear about that I think are very important. So let's take that short break. We'll be right back on A Satellite View. And we're back on A Satellite View. If you like the music you hear here, go to toddmikkelson.com, push the music button. You can access this music and a lot more music I've written over the years. Go to our website, satelliteviewpodcast.com. You can sign up to be on our emailer. Go to my Instagram, @ToddMikkelson. Follow me there, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find it by going to YouTube and then put in the search, put Satellite View Podcast. You'll find the show, and you can watch these episodes, by the way, in their entirety on video. We're going to talk about some of the things maybe some of the maggots are ready to review. Here's, I don't know who this very astute fellow is, but I think he tells it best.
Okay, since it's been a while since the assassination attempt was made on Trump's life, here's a hot take. It was completely staged so Trump could garner sympathy for the election. And if you don't believe this, you're simply just gullible and believe whatever the government tells you. From the angle in which the bullet came in, theoretically, he could survive if it didn't tear off half of his face, if it was a real bullet. Look at these two photos. Can you tell which one was before and after? This one was the one before, and this one was the one after. Could you tell the difference before I told you? Also, the injury would have made him go completely deaf. Is he deaf? No, he is not. And if you really think God saved Trump, can you please pray that you stop being brainwashed? Okay.
So I wish I knew that kid personally. It sounds like a lot of fun to know. This is a story that is kind of coming back quickly. A lot of people. I saw a segment by Chris Chaliza, I think is how you say his name. He used to be on CNN and I think also NBC or MSNBC. Now he's independent. So he's talking about interesting things instead of what his corporate boss allows him to. And he's got some questions. He even, of course, he still is careful to say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe Trump got shot in the ear with a real bullet. Okay, I don't. Neither does that kid. By the way, on the visual, if you're watching this on video, you could see that video. The pictures that he shows are, of course, Trump from behind his right ear that supposedly, allegedly, he didn't get shot. Nothing hit his ear. his ear would have been blown apart. We're talking about a high-power rifle round. Like the kid said, if that bullet got that close to his head to graze his ear, it would have made him go deaf. It would have knocked him down. It would have probably given him a brain injury, and it would have done a lot more damage than just a little small trickle of blood. Yeah. I think somebody even did a AI thing saying, hey, does this look like real blood or theater blood? And the AI thing said, no, this looks more like the consistency of fake theater blood. But, I don't know how I feel about AI. I know it's inevitable. But whatever. Don't want to talk about AI. I mean, we do, but no. Yeah, this story, like, why did the shooter get on the roof? How was he able to get on the roof? This is Chris Chalice's question. And why were there absolutely no Secret Service members fired? Now, another thing that happened is a new video angle was released. Why now? Why now? It shows, it's like right in front of the stage. It begins after the shooting. You can tell Trump is everybody's piled on top of him. And then as they're getting him up, a Secret Service agent pushes about 3 photographers into position directly in front of the stage. And then you can see that flag, that American flag that was hanging by 2 big cherry picker kind of cranes. It lowered a little bit more. It lowered into the frame even on this video. You can see it coming down. And then Trump stands up and does his pose, which, by the way, the Secret Service would have never let him do if this was a real thing. You would have not seen him again. They would have had him so covered up. Because when they let him do that, if there were any other shooters, they would have blown his head off. And that's why, so it's, how do you feel? Again, don't trust me. What do you think? Why is there no damage? I mean, 0 damage to his ear. That's a story that's coming about just now because of this new angle video. Just now, when all these MAGA Trump supporters are ready to ask themselves the question, what else have we been lied to about? It took them 2 weeks to find out, and there I think I heard today still 3 bodies, but just up until I think Thursday, there were still 100 dead bodies not recovered from the Texas floods. The Trump administration is taking away FEMA. The Trump administration is taking away, by defunding public broadcasting, taking away a lot of people, especially in rural places where most of the Trump supporters, these MAGAs, live, taking away their only line to being warned about severe weather or flash flooding or tornadoes. So many more things. So many more horrible things. And they have to get more horrible for all of these people to be convinced. We must rebuild. My friend Doug and I were talking about the dismantling of the Department of Education. And I made the point that, the Department of Education has been so hamstrung. Our education system in this country has been getting worse and worse for decades. We do need to do something different. The fact that he's dismantling it will make it cleaner to rebuild it. That's how I'm going to start looking at all this stuff. ICE was not supposed to be here anymore. ICE was supposed to be temporary during the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act, actually, the whole Homeland Security Department was supposed to be temporary. It was all passed by the panicked Congress after 9/11. And everybody was like, we got to make sure this doesn't happen again. They overcompensated. They gave ICE too much power. They gave the Department of Homeland Security too much power. But it was supposed to be for, I don't know, a year or 2 or 3, something like that. And that was 25 years ago. So a lot needs to be completely dismantled so that we can rebuild things better. That's one thing I think is going on. Okay, now here's another thing. A couple news stories I want to get at. One of them is Netanyahu came to the United States and brought his wife and child. Was it 2 weeks ago or only 1 week ago? I can't remember because time is just like, can't keep track of it anymore. But why did he bring his wife and child? Was he planning on maybe staying here or having Trump give him asylum somewhere else? And then Trump maybe didn't give him what he wanted? He was here apparently for like 3 or 4 days before he went back to Israel. This didn't make the news. I mean, it barely made the news that he was here at all because nobody knew why he was here because Trump didn't tell us why he was here. All right? And then Netanyahu goes back to Israel, and what does he do? He bombs Syria the day before his trials were supposed to commence. A bribery trial was supposed to go on the next day. But nope, now we're at war with Syria because him trying to go to war with Iran didn't work. The Gaza thing, it looks like he's killed everybody. So that's kind of, not a hot thing anymore. It can't keep him out of his trials. He is bombing other people so that he can stay out of prison. He is the Israeli Trump. Another thing, France is investigating Elon Musk for election data manipulation. Another thing, you know how Trump said, I'm giving Putin 50 days. That was about 10 days after Putin told Donald Trump on the phone that I think I can finish this war if I'm given about 60 days. So 10 days into that, Trump gives him 50 more days. If you're so appalled about all the people dying every day, Donald Trump, why don't you just do it now? Put sanctions on Russia now or put the tariffs on Russia now. No, we're going to wait until Putin supposedly wins the war. But another story you did not hear is that Ukraine bombed the living hell out of places all around very close to Moscow, scaring the crap out of everybody, stranding people. Moscow, I guess, has 4 international airports. Hundreds, if not thousands of people were stuck for like a day and a half with no food and water in these airports because they had to shut everything down. This is going to turn the people even more against Putin than they already are. And it's demonstrating to everybody, including Putin, that Ukraine is gaining power. Now, they just were making new deals with Europe, and they even got Trump. Trump, of course, is being such a puke about it that he's like, we'll sell the weapons to Europe and then allow Europe to give them to Ukraine. Because he wants to be able to say to his base, we're not paying for it anymore. See, we're getting paid for the weapons we're giving to Ukraine. But his base is only paying attention to the fact that he will not release the Epstein files. So it doesn't matter. But Ukraine, this is all over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Europe talking about, and NATO talking about, Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, talking about helping Ukraine. And now Ukraine takes this very bold move. And reporting is that the United States has told them that, take the gloves off. We were telling you you can't bomb within Russia. Well, now you can, except Trump told him, I hope you do not target Moscow. So who did tell them, go ahead and win this war, Ukraine? Makes me think Donald Trump isn't in charge or doesn't know anything about what's going on over there. Maybe Marco Rubio, the State Department, and people in the Pentagon are really in charge. Not Pete Hegseth, because Pete Hegseth tried to stop the weapons from going into Ukraine because Pete Hegseth's working for Putin. I think we've seen that from many angles. He's got a Russian email account. He's got Russian phone numbers. Pete Hegseth, the head of the Department of Defense. So somebody is undermining Hegseth in the Pentagon, I think. And they, and maybe Marco Rubio and his State Department are saying, don't worry about Donald Trump. We'll take care of him. I mean, he's not paying attention anyway. Go ahead and bomb what you think is right. Win this war so that we can end it. So this big Ukrainian hit that happened just last night within the last 24 hours. It's hard to keep track of because we're in such different timelines. They're on the other side of the planet. But is that a story that you heard? I don't know, because it's hard to find that story. Why? Another story. I'm reading to you from Medusa.io, and they are quoting a story by The Guardian. Okay, I'm going to read from it. A Ukrainian cell of the neo-Nazi group, The Base, has claimed responsibility for the July 10th assassination of Colonel Ivan Yoranech. Sure, I'm not pronouncing it right. A senior official in Ukraine's domestic intelligence agency. The shooting of the SBU colonel is not the end, but only the beginning. We will continue our struggle until justice prevails. That's what the Base, this group, this neo-Nazi group, is saying. Okay, this neo-Nazi group, now I'm going to tell you, did you know that the head of intelligence in Ukraine was assassinated on the 10th of July? I didn't until maybe 2 days ago. And then I went looking for it, and it's really hard to find. So now I'm going to read to you what The Base is. They're a hate group. The Base is a neo-Nazi group and paramilitary training network formed in 2018 by Ronaldo Nazaro. The group espouses accelerationist and white nationalist ideology. It is active in the United States, Canada, Australia, South Africa, and Europe, and designated as a terrorist organization in Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and the European Union. The organization's founder was a former employee of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and the Pentagon. The organization was originally based on Nazaro's off-the-grid land in Washington state in the United States, but he soon migrated to Russia and started directing the group's activities from there. So an American started a group that assassinated Ukraine's intelligence officer. Did you know that? All right. I think I've gotten through everything. Another very interesting thing is that they actually announced that, yes, Trump does have a physical ailment, chronic venous insufficiency. But they're saying that, what you're seeing, the bruising on his hand, that's from shaking too many hands. No, he doesn't shake people's hands. Even during the campaign, he wouldn't shake people's hands. He doesn't shake people's hands. That's a lie. That's a lie. But this photo of his ankles, when he was sitting down and his pants came up a little bit and you could see his ankles and they're really, really swollen. They know that they cannot get rid of that one, and they know something is imminent. So they're trying to get ahead of it by announcing, yes, he has chronic venous insufficiency. But then they say, it's a normal thing. Everybody older than 70 has it. That's not true. And, in fact, it is an extremely serious thing that points to a lot of other problems. With the heart, it can cause stroke. All of the things that everybody's been talking about. Some people believe that Trump has already had some strokes. And that's why he's talking so like he's got dementia. Anyway, it's just really interesting that the White House actually announced this. Now, here's somebody called Annie for Truth. I think this is from her Twitter account. I'm reading it because somebody reposted it on Blue Sky, because I hate going on Twitter anymore. She writes something that I think is very interesting. In quotes, why didn't Biden release the Epstein files? Okay. unquote. Now, that's something that you hear the right wing saying. If the Democrats were so interested in the Epstein files, how come they didn't ask Joe Biden for them? Here's the reason. So if somebody uses this in an argument against you, if you're talking about this and they say, well, why didn't the Democrats ask Joe Biden to release the files? Here's your answer. The Epstein records were sealed by a judge until after Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. They were not unsealed until January of 2024. So no, Biden couldn't release what wasn't legally available. Everyone would have complained if he did because it would have been interfering with the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Okay, so another thing that she points out, Biden didn't run a cult. He let the DOJ operate independently, unlike Trump, who demands loyalty, oaths, and treats every agency like his personal operatives. And no Democrat ran on a platform promising to release the Epstein files. Trump did. Then he blocked them. Joe Biden didn't lie to anybody. He was legally unable to do anything with the Epstein files, as was his DOJ, which he did not boss around. All right. Well, we've gone overtime again. I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Got to some news stories you probably didn't hear about. And we're looking into the future here. What news stories are going to come out? People are always like really into the salacious stuff. You know, you've heard I even heard Nancy Pelosi say, this Epstein thing is distracting us from the important things. Don't disagree with her. We should be talking about our economy and the fact that Donald Trump is dismantling it and our democracy. But the Epstein files are the thing that's going to turn his people against him. We have to get him out. We have to snuff out his power before we can fix the economy. We can complain about the economy and nobody will care. Right now, we've got an opportunity for all of Trump's most ardent followers to turn against him. And then we unite. We are in the process of uniting this country. So no, don't start talking about numbers and how many people are going to have this and how many things this and how much money this and the number and the billion and the million and the billion. People don't listen to that. Have you not learned that yet, Democrats? Let's let this Epstein thing go. Keep going. Keep going. Trump is going to have disgusted every single person in the world by the time this is done. And then we start setting things back to right. Like I said, everything's got to be completely dismantled so that we can rebuild it. If we would have been maintaining our Constitution and our institutions, we'd be in a much better place. But we haven't been. So I'm not saying we're going to dismantle the Constitution, but we need to really look at our institutions because they are obviously not working. Donald Trump should not be able to be doing what he's doing. The Supreme Court should not be able to be doing what they're doing. So we need a lot of rethinking and a lot of rebuilding. We are at the beginning of that. It is not a bad thing. It's a very, very good thing. Still going to take some time, but man, things are really turning. That's why I was so elated last week, if you listened. I just was like, okay, we've bounced off the bottom, and now we're going up. That's how I feel. How do you feel? Anyway, thank you so much. Let's stick together, keep each other sane. We got to keep it together so we can help the people who are really being negatively affected by these monsters. We have to keep it together because we have to rebuild this. We have to do all this, and we are. You are, and I am. We're doing it together. So let's stick together, keep each other sane, get outside in the nice weather if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, spend some time in nature, do the things that you love to do, play your guitar, play your piano, play your trombone, play whatever instrument you love to play, listen to the music you love, watch comedy, enjoy your life. Don't let this bring you down. Don't give him that kind of power. Okay, we have no reason to live in fear. Let's move forward and enjoy all of this while it's happening. It's okay. It's okay to enjoy the fact that Trump is being taken down by the Epstein files. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Yeah, the fever has broken. Again, thank you so much for sticking with me. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.